Welcome everybody to the One to Go show. It is Puka speaking. It is the star of the show with the glasses and the headset, the 71A of Ryan Aho. How you doing, buddy? Good to be
Man, I'm
back.
doing good. So, in case everybody, all kinds of people have been asking, right? Yes, he is still alive. He is 100% still alive. Puka is back in action. Glad to have you back on the show. Of course, Changa, you doing dad stuff today. They got
Yeah.
concerts and hockey tryouts and just craziness. Plus, I don't know if you saw on the show, but his better half Teresa had knee surgery, so
Yeah.
he's still kind of maneuvering her around. And Bert got a promotion at work, and got to be honest, I thought I was going to congratulate him for that, but now he's too busy. He couldn't make it on tonight. So I don't know. He's like, sometimes it's not always good to be a boss, and that is absolutely true. So yeah, glad to be on here. Always fun to catch up with you. We chat every once in a while, but good to have you back on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, it is good. I'm far away from the camera. I don't know what it is. I got a pimple the size of a pumpkin on my nose. I mean, who gets a pimple in their 40s? I don't know, hit the fountain of youth or something, but holy cow, this thing is massive. So hopefully it'll be gone for Halloween. I'll be called the pumpkin. But yeah, so we're getting way away from the camera. Nobody wants to see that. So
It's probably that HGH or some kind of stuff you're on for,
yeah,
men's league hockey.
that's got to
So
start soon.
they
Yeah.
might want to drug test you. Not sure.
Yeah, that's going to be starting
Well,
soon. So how about Coach Kraus?
or
No sightings there. I was kind of wondering, all these back coaching, does the Zamboni make faster circles than the 29 star?
well, at least they finished, right? So they finished Zamboniing the whole ice. They actually said, "Hey, can we get Kraus to maybe do the Zamboni? He knows how to drive." And they're like, "Hell no! He drive through the boards. We'd be fixing shit. It'd be a bad deal. Can't do it. So Kraus cannot run the Zamboni. He would be the guy. He'd be the guy on Mystery Alaska, driving down the road, playing the Zamboni song, drinking a beer, getting pulled over by the cops. More likely for him to do that than finish Zamboning the ice at where the Blizzard play in Alexandria there.
Oh, that's great. All right, episode 281. Yeah, so let's jump into it. Of course, all you that listened last week, or Ryan and the gang heading over to Angel Park. Sounds like things went pretty good over there.
Yeah, I got to ask before we get into that. We might have a donkey award. I'll let you ponder it. Not really sure, but this episode brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. So, if you're in the market, if you're a individual, a couple, a family, a small business owner, if you're in pretty good health, maybe no major medical or pre-existings over the last couple of years, here 3 years, might have a good solution for you. A lot of people are paying a very, very high dollar amount for health insurance. I talk to people that are paying dang near $2,000 a month for a family. That is just bonkers. Here, a family, you're looking at between $600 and $650 a month. Super affordable. You can go to any provider, keep your current provider. It's been fantastic. Hit me up, 218-969-1380. I can get you a quick, no obligation quote. I can shoot you over the website so you can get the information and see if we can help keep some money in your pocket instead of giving it to your insurance person, because we know there's a lot more fun things to spend money on. So let's help you do that.
Well, yeah, and is that open now or is that next week?
Yeah, open enrollment's I think next week, but with Impact, there is no enrollment period. So
Okay.
you can
Okay.
literally sign up 12 months out of the year. And a lot of people ask, they're like, well, hey, if I get signed up for something else during open enrollment, what do I do there? Well, you can always cancel insurance. You just
Yep.
can't get on traditional insurance except for during that enrollment period. So if you get on something and you're like, God, I should maybe check with Ryan to see if I can save some money. Well, that's fine. Maybe you got on another insurance company. If you check with me and it's cheaper, you can drop that, jump onto what we have. Coverage always begins the first of the following month. So, yeah, it's been busy. I've had a lot of phone calls here the last few weeks with checking
Well,
on quotes for
there's
sure.
been kind of an uproar because I know, well, that one, I think it was UCare left Minnesota. I've been hearing a lot about that stuff. There's a lot going on right now, and rates are going up everywhere, is what I've heard, like Medicare people.
Well, let's put it this way, right? Traditional insurance, for profit. So
Yeah.
they're for-profit companies. Their business model is designed to make them money. Period. Impact Health Sharing, nonprofit.
Okay.
You do the math. That's why it's significantly cheaper, right? That's why it's a better option than traditional health insurance for most people.
Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into it. Like I said, Angel Park, Woo Sprints, you and Uper.
Well, kinda, right? Kinda. So first of all, Puka, I got to be honest. So I knew that Sun Prairie, was in central Wisconsin. I travel all around in the truck. I had no idea that it's essentially right in the backyard of Madison. I never knew that, right? I did not realize how close it was. And what's crazy is kind of the midget mecca of the world. I mean, they got really good midget racing there. I mean, they've had midget racing there for a very, very long time. But it's kind of a neat deal. It's nestled right in town. It's right next to the hockey arena, 2 buildings down from the high school. I mean, it is surrounded by houses. I mean, there's not a lot of room for expansion, but the place opened in 1913 was the first race at horse racing.
Oh.
And I believe 1939 was the first dirt race. So we're talking over 100 years old. That place been there for a long time. And, you'd think, we're down in the area quite often. You'd think I maybe would have been there. And Uper, right, gives me a call. He says, "Hey, we should go down to Angel Park for the World of Outlaws." Yeah, why not? If it works into my schedule, heck yeah, let's do it. So I ended up driving my truck, parked it at the high school, walked a block over, and I sat down next to Uper. His brother Carl was there. His buddy Al was there. His other brother Keith and his son Scott. They sat in a different spot. Jeff got us he didn't want to be in the big crowd. He wanted a little bit more elbow room, right? Well, he was very thoughtful because at intermission, he decided to give the rest of us even more elbow room. He's like, "I'm cold. I'm going to go to the truck. I'm going to warm up. I'm going to go get," he had one of those warm up vests, the Milwaukee deal with the batteries.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're sitting there. I'm bullshitting with his buddy. He's like, he lined this whole deal up, right? He's like, "Come on down. It's going to be a great time." Lo and behold, the races get done. No Uper. I'm thinking, "Oh shit, did he die? Or like what, did he get kidnapped? Or like what's going on?" Then he texted his buddy, right, Al. He's like, "Hey, got the truck warmed up. I'm all ready." He watched the features in the truck. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, yeah, it was cold out, but it's like we're all cold too. So I kind of got to give a donkey award. Well, then he said that he's kind of battling. He's got a little diabetes, right? Blood sugar was down. So he said he felt like, so I'm like, all right, maybe I'll retract that. Maybe, right? Maybe you go to the racetrack though, Puka. I mean, if you should support the racetrack, go to the concession stand, get some
100%.
fat kid food. If he would have did that, blood sugar wouldn't have gone down. So fuck him. He still gets a donkey award. So there it is. Donkey award for Uper for hanging us out to dry. Feelings are hurt. They're hurt.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, hey, this ain't the first time, Puka. We're in Ashland, red clay. Me, him, his brother Carl, Pete Niska was with us. Wasn't even cold there. First night, races took a while. They had a lot of cars there, right? He disappears. I'm gonna go to the truck for a while. Text Pete. Pete goes out to the truck. There's still races going on. There's still like 6, 8 heat races, probably 6 heat races at least. And he shoots his brother Carl. "Hey, we're ready. Are you coming?" He's like, "What are you talking about? I'm sitting here watching the races. I paid to get in." And his brother's like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna have to go. Otherwise, he can be whining. So I'm gonna have to go." So this is the second time that he went to the races, hung us out to dry. Unbelievable.
That's a donkey award.
Gotta give him a donkey award for that. But good racing though. I mean, I gotta give a hat tip to the folks at Angel Park. They moved that deal right along. It was cold. I mean, it felt like 40. I mean, I think it was right around 50. Had a pretty brisk little wind, and the track actually was pretty good, unique, very flat. I hear all the Hibbing guys whine. They're like, "Oh, the track's too flat. The Hibbing is too flat." Go to Angel Park, right? It's flat, super flat. Go to Thunder Bay. It's flat. They just got to get used to it, right? And I don't know if did you get a chance to watch that race?
Yeah, that was the one Hottenshell kind of he got out early and kind of, well, no, he had a challenge there towards the end, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Axum got out early. Sheldon went up top, drove by him, and then he stretched it, right? He's gone by a straightaway. And then in the closing laps, they got in a lot of traffic, and Axum and Gravel both tracked him down. Emerson Axum was hunting his first win in the World of Outlaws, got inside of him. Sheldon was good. Sheldon was really good. Lame duck. It's kind of a lame duck there.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as he became a lame duck, he got hot again.
He did. He did. He went. It was funny. I watched a little interview there with Stenhouse and the Connor Wade, I believe it was from World of Outlaws, and he's like, we had it planned that right after the national, I think national open at Williams Grove, that was going to be it. We had to kind of start moving that direction. And he goes, sure as shit, they win the race. So I couldn't tell him that night. I had to wait till the next day. And he's like, the next day, I literally, we decided that's when they fired the crew chief, right? Because Sheldon had decided he's leaving. They fired the crew chief. So that all happened. But yeah, he basically made the announcement, yeah, I'm moving on. And they're like, well, let's finish out the season, because it sounds like Stenhouse wanted him to stay. Sounds like the relationship was good, but sounds like Sheldon's like, we got to do something different. We're not getting the results. Let's try something different. And interesting, he's had 4 out of his last 5 have been on the top 5 and 2 wins. I mean, yeah. So he got hot at the, like you said, right when he announced, hey, I'm going in a different direction, all of a sudden he's fast again. It's like crazy. Not maybe they sabotaged, but they didn't.
Yeah, just a struggle bus here. I was going to look here. I kind of had it here as far as the points. What's he in? Sixth, I think. Let me look here. 5th. So 5th in points. Yeah, just kind of a whole hum year. I mean, maybe the change is what he needs.
Yeah, and that's kind of where he's hung around, right? Because if you remember when you and I were doing the show with Bert, pretty regularly, we were calling him Buggy Bobby because he was freaking lights out fast. But he'd either win, he'd drive into the fence, he'd melt a right rear tire, so you just didn't know what was going on. But he, as far as points go, he's kind of always teetered around that 5th, 6th in points deal. Yeah, good luck to him. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, he won that night, and then Friday, David Gravel won. Did you happen to watch the Outlaws Friday night at Putnamville?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw that. Yeah, I saw the ending to that one. I hope everybody did.
I want your thoughts on this, right? And so Gravel's got a big lead in the points, and Kofoid's been good. He's been kind of inching closer, but not really in striking distance. And I guess the best way to put an end to that is dump him in turn 4, coming for the checkered. I guess that'll knock him out of the points battle. I mean, horseshit move, racing deal. What do you think on that?
Well, as a non-racer, that's tough because he was kind of running that line a little bit. Gravel was, just kind of slide. Well, I mean, he was on the bottom middle, but I think final corner he kind of came in low and slid up, and I think it was one of those situations where it's the end of the season. Obviously they're coming right out of 4. Smashing the gas. Nobody was going to give an inch. Why give an inch at this point in the year? Gravel doesn't need to because he basically has it, as it wrapped up. And Koifoid, you got nothing to lose. You got to go for more wins, build some momentum into next year. So, Gravel gets into Koifoid. Koifoid spins. And then remember, Gravel crossed the finish line at first, or at least on the stream, they said, caution, this one's not over. And then about 10 seconds later, Johnny Gibson says, race is over. So that was even a little bit kind of odd. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen that in the World of Outlaws where they've said it's over or it's not over, but yes, it is.
Yeah, I guess technically the yellow didn't come out until right as Gravel was crossing the checkered. So they said since the leader crossed the checkered, but man, I've seen some super, super late yellows in the World of Outlaws. There wasn't a super late one there for Gravel. So yeah, a little question mark there, right? I mean, that's an interesting deal, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's going to be any heated point battles at the World Finals this year. Everything's kind of a runaway. So
kind of wrapped up. Yeah. Well, I have 2 questions for you. First off, or a comment, I guess, on Gravel. So a lot of booze. A lot of booze on Gravel basically since July. I think, or since, was it June or July? The King's Royal. Since he had his little spat with Kyle Larson, and of course there's a legion of Kyle Larson fans, and I think it was good for the sport because early on Gravel was winning all the races. His interviews. Yeah, I just want to thank everyone. Great night. Car was good. Just that no energy, no cadence. But now he's kind of turned into the villain, and I think he's embracing the role. And I think he even said a swear word in the interview. Something, hell with all of you. Keep booing. I don't care. We just keep winning races. And he's done that more than once now in the second half of the year. So I think that's been really good. What are your thoughts on kind of his embracing the villain role?
Oh, I love it. I mean, it's absolutely necessary because one thing we talk about is most of these racers, right, across the board, local, regional, national, not a lot of personality there, right? Not, I mean, there's a few, but very few. And if you think sprint car racing, it's like there's nobody with personality in sprint cars. There's no, none of that, right? So having somebody to cheer against as is equally as important, maybe even more important than having somebody to cheer for. And
Yeah.
kind of having that polarizing driver out there where half are cheering for him, half are booing. Everybody's got an opinion of him. So whether he's playing the role or just kind of a whiny bitch, I'm not really sure, right? But the fact is, it's super necessary and it's super good for racing.
Yeah. And how about, speaking of personality, so I don't know if you were able to get in the pits at all. I kind of would wonder what the energy level or maybe lack thereof around the shots pit was like. Did you make it down at all and see kind of what the cadence was?
I didn't make it down there. Boy, it's disappointing, right? I mean, Donnie Schatz easily on the Mount Rushmore of sprint car racing. It's not even a debate. He sits right next to Steve Kinser without
Oh,
question. But I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's psychological. I don't know if he's just lost confidence. He didn't forget how to drive. I mean, you don't forget how to drive, but confidence is key. When
for
shit
sure.
starts getting bad and all of a sudden you're second guessing yourself and do I bring it in that hard? And your mind plays tricks on you. I've seen many good racers across the board that it's like, why are they all of a sudden not good? Well, they're not driving it quite with that swagger. And you watch a guy like David Gravel, right? I mean, he puts that thing anywhere he wants at any time on the racetrack because the confidence level is so high. And I think that Schatz, his confidence is gone. I don't know if he'll ever
Yeah.
get it back, but it's racing, right? You go out there, you have a couple good nights. Maybe not this year because there's not much left, but all of a sudden next year, wherever he lands, you get a couple good nights and you start building that confidence back up. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's the the end of the road is much closer than the beginning of the road for
Oh
Don.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, he always needs that lucky break. He needs to be running third. He need to be running third on Friday night, and then those two both tangle and both spin out, and he gets the win. He needs that lucky break almost, and then maybe it's something he could build on. Because yeah, what a struggle bus here.
Well, there's 5 races left, right, for the World of Outlaws. There's 2 this weekend, then you got 3 at the World Finals. Can Donnie Schatz sneak out at least a podium finish in one of the last 5 races?
Well, I'm going to channel my inner Bert Lehman and tell you anything is possible. Anything is possible.
That was
But
for
no,
you,
in all
Bert.
seriousness, but no, shots has traditionally run pretty well in Charlotte. So I
Yeah.
mean, you know, um, but the other part of that, I think there's gonna be a lot of media scrutiny on him. What's up for next year? What's up for next year? I think he's gonna be in the limelight a lot, unless we hear an announcement between now and then, which I think is slim to none.
Right.
Is he gonna have his own team? Is he gonna spend the winter building his own deal? Is someone gonna pick him up? It's interesting. There's a lot of he's in the headlines for all the kind of wrong reasons. At the end of 2025 here.
Yeah, and he's phenomenal, right? I mean, he's a hell of a driver. He's a storied career. But if you're a car owner, right? If you're somebody that's going to put that kind of money and time into a program, would you rather have that veteran Donnie Schatz that's been there, done that, or would you rather have an up and comer, young gun, and you might have some bumps in the road early, but you have something to look forward to? That's the $1 million question right there.
Right. Yeah. 100%. 100%. All right. You wanted to throw in a quick word for Fastlane?
Yeah, Fastlane Motorsports and powder coating. Yeah, give them some love.
You want to do it?
Oh, I can do it.
You give
Yeah,
it to
heck
him.
yeah. So Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating up in Ashland, Wisconsin. Of course, Chris and the gang are the primary sponsor, the number one sponsor. There's several for the number one series in WISSOTA Racing, the Northland Superstock Series, home of the Galloper chassis, Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating. They do custom fabricating, sandblasting, powder coating, like I said, and they service a lot of racetracks. They can get any racing related part you need: tires, shocks, wheels, aluminum, you name it. They do it all up there, and they've been really good for racing. They've helped a ton of people. So as you're building your cars this winter, get a hold of them guys. Get a hold of Chris up there. He'll get what you need. He'll take good care of you. That's Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin.
All right, let's get into our stories of the week. Some champions crowned, of course. I think everybody kind of had their eyes on Eldora and the Dirt Track World Championship. I'll let you get started on that, but I missed the feature, and I kind of had a question, and you could answer it now or later while you're going through things. But did they move the feature up for the weather? Because I thought the race was starting much later, and by the time I turned it on, I was watching whatever the support class late models. I moved away for a while, and then I come back, and they're closing out the show, showing all the previous footage of Victory Lane and Moran and all that good stuff.
They did. And Changa and I were out on the golf course, right? We're like, hey, we get done golfing, we're gonna get back. We'll be getting back in time for the features. If we miss the B mains, not a big deal. And so when I'm looking at my race pass, it says, huh. Well, that's weird. Bobby Pierce won. I'm like, well, this got to be last year because he won last year from pretty deep. And I'm like, so I look on Facebook. I'm like, huh, no shit. So yeah, we ended up watching the replay of it a little bit later on. But yeah, they actually they started early. Weather was coming in, and they moved the show along quickly. It sounds like that. Sounds like rain did come eventually. So good move by them. And got to be honest, if I told you the feature was going to be moved up 4:00 start time at Eldora, basically a day race.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to rubber up in 100 off race, and the track was going to be good, you'd call me a liar.
Right.
Yeah. and it was good. Track was phenomenal. Racing was excellent.
Yeah, I agree. So I was able to watch the highlights, and yeah, that thing finished under broad daylight. I don't even know if the lights were on when that feature ended.
No, they weren't. Yeah, it was weird, right? Because they do the fireworks and all that, and it's like that's a waste of money. If I've ever seen one, I mean, fireworks in the daylight. I don't know about all this, right? But Tony's got plenty of money, not a big deal. But yeah, Bobby Pierce back to back. What did he start? 13th, 14th, 13th. He started back there pretty deep.
And he's been cold. He's been cold lately. I mean, what was it? Those back-to-back wins at Arrowhead back in a month ago, maybe?
Month and a half. Yeah.
Month and a half
ago. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. And he got his ass whooped in the heat race, right? He was in the same heat as Fergie's, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And then the last lap pass by Fergie over Fergie. That's right.
Yeah. Chris got over my cousin Carson Ferguson. I always thought they were brothers or cousins, as it turns out.
I thought they were brothers too. Okay.
Yeah. And they're battling up front for a position. Usually the guy behind him would catch him, and they drove away from Bobby like he wasn't on the track. But when the money was on the line, BP 32, he was so much better than every other car on the racetrack that it was like laughable. Like, he would drive that thing in so incredibly deep, and it would stick anywhere he wanted. I mean, that car was unbelievably fast, which is crazy as bad as it's been. Now, he did say he had I think that's his third crown jewel, right, with that car. I think third at Eldora or whatever. So he said might have to keep this one around for a little bit, he said. But yeah, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he looked good. And another second for Chris Madden. Another second at Eldora for Chris Madden. How many times have you heard that?
Oh, God. I mean, eventually he's going to lose his shit because Madden is a little feisty anyway. But, I mean, it's hard to get too upset about that, but I believe it's $100,000 to win, $20,000 for second, I think is what it is. So it's a major, major big difference between first and second. So, yeah, he's thinking, oh, maybe I just need to snipe him or something and get his tires, stuff him in the fence, do something. But, yeah, as it turns out, though, two storylines, right? The race, the Dirt Track World Championship, but then the chase for the championship coming into the night. Moran 15-point lead over RTJ, and RTJ was always within a couple spots of him throughout most of the race, and then he got himself in the fence and backpedaled, and it just went to hell in a handbasket. Actually, he got in the fence in the heat race, and he was towed out like 4 inches and willed his way up into a good finishing position. So he just about wrecked his whole weekend in the heat. So rough weekend for RTJ. Not quite as rough as it was for Huddy, though. He had a terrible chase.
Yeah, well, and I thought, of course, Ricky coming off that World 100, I was expecting. I kind of had him as the favorite. I mean, just thought he was just there, and he did so well. And then, of course, when he gets crossed up in the feature, he kind of gave Moran an assist by. I mean, I think mathematically Davenport might have been out of it by then, but then Davenport clips, of course, clips RTJ, and so he's got damage, so he's got a pit, and it's almost like just one of those nights where for Moran everything kind of went right, right? I mean, Huddy had issues, RTJ had issues, Davenport had issues. And even Moran said in the interview at the end there, he said, I never really went that hard or something to that effect. I never had to push it too much. I saw what was going on. I just kept my pace and I just did what I had to do to win the points is basically what he said in his post race.
Yeah. With that kind of money on the line to win the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Championship, your points racing at that point, you're not going to do anything over aggressive. Pierce alluded to it even beforehand. He's like, yeah, Devin ain't going to do anything crazy here. Or I think in the post race, he said it. We knew Devin was just going to kind of bide his time. But he did what he had to do. I mean, I'm still not a fan of the chase because he was, I mean, 300 points back going into it. But ultimately, that's the rules they play by. He had the best postseason and he got it done. So congrats. And Changa says, hey, both Abby and Savannah, big smiles on their faces. They're both happy. Both the Eldora girls, right? You got Bobby's fiance. They got the win. You got Savannah, Devin's sister. Brother got the championship. Hey, the trophy girls at Eldora, super happy. They didn't even have to fake the smiles down in Victory Lane for the photo ops. They were both super happy down there.
That's true. Yeah, but they do a good job with them. I don't know. I mean, should more tracks have trophy girls? I mean, that's kind of a thing of the past. I don't know. I mean, you'd think even at the local level, I don't know, you're the queen of your town, or I don't know, maybe you have your own pageant. I don't know. You have the racing pageant, like Hibby, you have the racing pageant. Then maybe you got to show up for all the races in August and Labor Day or something, or maybe it's a scholarship. I don't know. It makes you think because they do such a good job. They feature them on Flow. Hey, check us out on weekend. All of our social media handles. This is where we're at. They're doing the split the pot, showing the tickets. I know when I've been to the World 100, yeah, they're always walking around taking pictures. They're good ambassadors for the track, the sport, and the facility.
They are. They look good, but they don't look trashy, right? They don't.
Oh, right. No, not at all. Right.
So you don't have that group of people going, man, they just look like a bunch of. They don't. They don't look trashy. No. And like you said, they do far more than just stand there for a picture. There's a lot of interaction with the crowd. I mean, they really do a good job. And yes, I believe that more tracks should have that without question. I mean, I think it just adds to the program. Will that happen? Who knows? But I think it would definitely add. Biggest drama point of the weekend.
Yes. So Turbo Tyler, of course, and Max Blair heat race. Max are on the outside as they come out of 4, and Max wants the bottom, and so he kind of forces himself down, and so Turbo's behind him, and of course Turbo's not going to lift, so runs him right up into the wall, and Max kind of flew up on his side. Turbo's parked under him. Of course, Turbo's out of the car in an instant. Max is out of his car. Turbo's climbing over onto his own. Turbo's climbing onto Turbo's car, which is connected to Max's car. Max is flipping him off. Of course, you probably heard Max's comment. What did he say? Hope this guy gets his head knocked off. He's wrecked everyone in the pits. I can't believe it hasn't happened already, he said.
Yes. And, if you're a big Turbo fan, right, you're like, Max Blair drove over his nose. He caused the whole thing. If you're not a Turbo fan, you're like, well, you got a freaking brake pedal. Like what's he doing, right? So hard racing deal. Turbo ain't ever gonna give an inch. Ain't gonna happen. Um, as a racer, it's lap one, and I get it. Things get stretched out fast. Big half mile. If you don't get position there on the initial start, you could set yourself up to fall back 3 spots in the snap of a finger, right? So I get it, but man, oh man, that seems like a waste of a trip to Eldora because both of them destroyed their shit in the first corner, and
Right.
it's like you might as well just go home. The weekend is over, and of course it's Turbo. If there's ever an altercation, it seems like he always finds his way in the middle of it. But there's another guy. We talk about gravel, personality wise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
God dang, Turbo's good for racing. He's good for the sport, because he's the probably the biggest personality in dirt late model racing right now, and he plays that very well too.
Oh yeah, I think by far, I think that's the best thing that happened to the Summer Nationals the last couple of years was him getting on there because he's a podium guy most nights there, right? So he gets the microphone, and he wins some of the races. I remember, I think it was last summer. He said, yeah, there was a guy down in corner one. That guy, boy, he really doesn't like me. He kept every time I went, he was flip me off. So this win is for this guy, and he likes to. Yeah, he'll stir it. He's not afraid to do it. And I did not. I don't know if you had. I didn't see if he was interviewed. Like I said, all I saw was some Max Blair clips. I don't know if they got whether he wanted to talk or if you caught anything, but if they actually shoved the microphone in Turbo's face after that.
Yeah, not immediately, but they got him down in the pits. He went down. He went in his hauler and cooled down, and they finally got him later. And he was not owning a bit of it. He's like he literally drove down over me in the first corner, and he put it all on Max Blair. And but I tell you what, when I went to Mississippi Thunder 2 years ago, he didn't even win. I think he got a flat tire. And the guy that won, there were 3 people at his car. This after the races. The line at Turbos had to be 50 people
Oh,
deep
really?
minimum, right? Yeah. So I mean, the guy sells T-shirts. He's got a big following. He's good for racing. So yeah, unfortunate situation. Let me ask you this: is this the last Dirt Track World Championship at the Big E?
It is. Yeah, we're gonna move her back home. I think Kyle Short was the original promoter, right, at West Virginia Motor Speedway. Am I correct in that? I think.
Not positive on that. Very well could be. I know it was at Pennsboro. It was at several
Yeah.
different places. Um, but yeah, going back down to West Virginia, and we talked about it last week. They shortened that track way up.
Yeah.
It was a big 5/8. They shortened it up, jam-packed crowd. Did you happen to notice the crowd at Eldora?
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed, and I
Half.
thought I heard the guys, and of course they kind of have to say it, but the guys on Flow, good crowd, and I mean it's definitely not going to be the world with it. I mean the dreams in June, the weather, part of this, you just kind of get seasoned out. It's cold, but I did notice right away Friday night, like oof, but I thought, well, it's heats only. So we'll see on Saturday, and of course there was weather coming, like you said, and they moved things up. So I only saw some of the highlight things, but uh, with all this being said, I think it's a good move. I mean, like we talk about big shows in Eldora. I mean, they have 3 big late model races, but they've got USAC races, and they've got the Kings Royal. And they've got a lot going on there. They used to have a truck race, of course. It's like, you have you been there?
I have not been to
Okay, and
Eldora.
it is literally in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally. It's worse than what Cedar Lake was 30 years ago. And you used to think Cedar was in the middle of money. It's in the middle of nowhere. So everybody that's coming there, you're kind of coming in, and so I think it's almost maybe best for both parties, both the people with Dirt Track World Championship and Tony and Eldora. Just it's a good time because yeah, it just if it's out, it almost doesn't seem you don't want to see an empty grandstand at Eldora. That's not your expectation. Is whether you're streaming it or you're there, it's going to be a jam packed place, right? You go there for part of the environment, and if it's going to be like it was this weekend, long term, I just don't think it's good. Like I said, for either side.
I think they're going to have more cars at the Dirt Track World Championship next year than they have at the World 100.
Ooh, interesting. Well, they had what 60? I think I put that down. 66 on October 11th when Tyler Carpenter won, and that wasn't a part of any major series or anything. So,
that's for $5,000 to win.
Yeah, right. So that's a hot spot right there.
Absolutely. High Limit Sprint Cars, Fuka. They had their championship this weekend as well. this weekend as well. They were at Wheatland, and then they had a doubleheader down at the Texas Motor Speedway. Who won that one?
Well, Rico, yeah, I put the exclamation point on with both wins. What were your thoughts? I'll give you mine, but thoughts on Rico and just the whole season with High Limit.
He's just good for racing. I mean, he's loved. He's not the controversial troublemaker or whatever, but the energy that guy has, the passion for racing, you know, it's second to none. You know, so seeing him, I believe, to the best of my knowledge, this is his first national touring series championship of any kind. You know, to be able to get that done and then double up on the final weekend to get that championship. Big congrats to him. Super. I'm a huge Rico fan. I have been for a couple of years now. He's just super fun to watch, and he's up and down. All these sprint car guys, you know, the 10th one night, first the next night, but the end of the weekend with what, sixth, first, and a first over them 3 nights. So yeah, just really good to see him. But there's another guy that really had a good weekend at Texas down there. Not even a points guy. Did you see that Darren Pittman got second both nights down there?
I don't remember. I know the one. I remember the one. He's in the red car, maroonish red, right?
69K, I believe that's
Yeah.
the 69K. Isn't that the one that Christopher Bell drives once in a while?
Okay, yeah, I remember hearing his name, but yeah, I didn't. But anyway, go ahead with your thoughts there. And I had a thought.
So, I mean, you look at that car, that Bell was running that early in the year. He hasn't run it. Him and Kyle Larson really haven't ran anything for what,
Yeah,
a
that's
couple
true.
months now, it seems like. But it doesn't matter who gets in that 69 car. It seems like they're always fast. I mean, Rico, of course, the story. He wins both nights in pretty much dominating fashion. They get it done. And it was a pretty tight point battle coming in. I mean, it was like 30-ish points between him and Brad Sweet. And I believe Brad Sweet had like a run of World of Outlaw championships, and didn't he win the first 2 high limit championships? So this is the first year, I believe, that Brad Sweet has not won a championship in probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, yeah, he had 5 Woo championships, and I think the high limit was first year was last year, right? So he just got the 1 chip or 2. I know he's
Maybe
got 5 Woo chips.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was last year was the first one. I think they had high limit the year before, but it was a little bit different deal, right?
Yeah, it might have just been a few races on weeknights.
Yeah, sometimes
It
like
might have
that.
been like the weeknight deal, like when the Castro Flow night, and then
Right.
Flow. I think they kind of because they kind of own part of it now, and then they kind of made it into to kind of a bigger. Well, they had the 2 championship, the weeknight deal. They still had like the weeknight deal, and then they had because Rico won that right earlier in the week, last week after when they hit before they headed to Lakeside. I think there was kind of there was like a weeknight points deal
Yep.
because, and
Yep.
then they had the overall points deal.
Did he win both? Did Rico win
Yeah,
both?
and he won both. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
weeknight thing
I
was
think
set
it's
up
called
more
the
for
midweek series. Is
yeah.
what it's
Because I think
called.
that was set up more for Kyle, right? So Kyle could make
Yes.
midweek stuff, and he could still walk out and be a champion, and you could promote that, right? But like you said, and I didn't even think about that. You're right. He hasn't been in the seat of a sprint car in months.
No, he hasn't. And so Rico's beating Marks, Heck, Thorson, your top 5 in points. But some big news, right? Just a day or two after retirement from full-time racing.
Yeah, Brad Sweet decided to call her quits. Like I said, I just jotted some stuff down here. So he began his career in 2007, 92 Woo wins, 14 high limit wins, 5 Woo championships. So I believe that was 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And then 24, he would have been the high limit champion. So he had 6 championships in a row, put a string together, kind of like what Schatz did, what Kinsler did back in the day. But yeah, no, but he was very specific. He's stepping away from full-time racing, but he didn't really give any details on what that means. Does he mean I'm going to race 20 times, 2 times, 32 times? Left it pretty vague. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, he did, and I can see him running the big shows and enough to kind of keep the pencil sharp. The rumor has it right now though that the Napa car could be Dason Pursley.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Pursley can be doing that full time, because remember it was about a month and a half ago Casey Kane stepped away from full time racing too, took on more of a role as a car owner. Now Brad Sweet stepping away. Of course, Brad Sweet, they just bought another series. They bought that NARC 410
Narc
series
series, right? Yeah.
out west. So he wants to promote that, make that even bigger than it already is. Um, Plus, he runs probably one of the best bikini contests in all racing. That deal down
I
at
forget. That's
Silver
right.
Dollar Speedway. So I mean, the guy's busy, right? I mean, and I believe isn't he owner? Do him and Kyle Larson, are they co-owners of Silver Dollar Speedway? I believe.
Yeah, yeah, him and there's someone else involved. There's three owners there, but yes, yes, he's in the ownership group there. Yeah, Narc. He's got the high limit, so he's so you almost think that he's been kind of looking ahead a little bit, and he had his young daughter up there. This was at the high limit banquet, and so if he wants to spend a little bit more time with her and just be a little bit closer to home, and I mean, he can always come back to it. Is he about? Is he 40?
Maybe
Is he?
around that. Yeah,
Yeah, so
I mean, Donnie Schatz is roughly my age. I
yeah,
believe
roughly
he's
50.
close. Yeah, right around there. And he's got to be 10 years younger than Donnie. I would have to
That's what
think.
I'm thinking, right? So,
Yeah,
I mean, he's got time. She'll get into high school, she'll get into her own thing, she'll get a boyfriend, and then maybe he wants to go back out on the road, and whatever. But yeah, yeah, it's like I said, shots is kind of towards the twilight, because we kind of, the baton kind of went from Kinzer back in the day, and then he handed it to Donnie, and Donnie was it Donnie an 8-time champ? People are gonna have to comment. They
10,
didn't have to
10.
10. Okay, 10.
Yep.
So I think Pittman was the only guy, maybe or Myers or Pittman snuck one in, a rare one in there. So his last one would have been 18. Then from 19 until 24 or 23 was Sweet, and then like I said, 24 he took his high limit one. So yeah, just a pass of the baton. But now that leaves, Rico's going to be well funded. um, of course, the team is leaving Woo for high limit, so that makes it interesting. But this is where the two series might really make sprint car racing a little less interesting, because I don't really see anybody really stepping up to Rico. I mean, you never know who's going to
Reitzel.
change and swap.
Aaron Reitzel.
Reitzel's a guy, and I just thought Reitzel just hasn't. I really thought, like, when we first started the show, they're 18. I remember he got caught for, what do you have, illegal bar diameter or something? Do you remember he
Yep.
got for squat?
Thickness. I believe it was thickness of roll bar tubing.
Yeah, there you go. The ACSC series or whatever back,
Yep.
and I just never felt like he really recovered the way I thought. I mean, he's had some wins, obviously. I'm hoping he's a guy that can fill in, and then of course Kofoid, he's there with gravel, but I just the depth part starts to be a
Right.
concern on both sides. But if you can have at least two guys running a gun, and that's good. But I think with the two series now, the depth is going to play a part. It just might take some time for some young talent to kind of fill, because there's money to be made now, right? You say if there's no depth, I may as well get out and run a national tour, right? If I could play third and fourth, I could pay the bills, and you never know what if somebody can develop into the next Brad Sweet. But it's going to be kind of interesting going forward for the next couple of years to see who fills some of those voids.
Well, add on top of that, right? This year there was a ton of injuries in the sprint car, right? Because another guy that will be an absolute factor next year, Sunshine Tyler Courtney.
Yeah,
because he's been out now for several months. And then you look at Reitzel was out for an extended period of time. Even Sweet was out for a little bit. Of course, he got the bonus points or whatever to. Otherwise, he might have won that championship because he ended up missing a couple nights there. So that how much of that injury stuff and all the injuries that happened this year, do you think that played any part in Brad Sweet saying, I can focus on this other stuff and move on to that next chapter?
Yeah, I did read an article. Jeremy Elliott from Sprint Car Unlimited, oh boy, just a month ago, did an interview with him, and he did say something to the effect it was like an eye-opening experience, something like that. I mean, I think it. Yeah, well, even Courtney, will Courtney be the same racer when it comes? And Reitzel, remember, did he get the rock through the helmet like March?
Yes,
he had it twice this year.
Right.
March, and then I think that was also at the Kings Royal. All three of them, wasn't it? Reitzel, Sweet, and Courtney, all at the Kings Royal at Eldora, and that's always like a mid-July, late July race. So, yeah, sometimes young and dumb is better than old age and treachery.
That is for sure. Another icon. This one in Wissota country deciding to pull the pin from being a chassis builder, he might still dabble for a couple
Yeah.
people, maybe. I don't know that for sure. But let me ask you this. Is there or legendary iconic chassis in Wissota modified racing? Is there anything that's even come on the same stratosphere throughout the whole realm of Wissota racing? Anything more prominent than the J car?
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, heck, what, early 90s? I mean, the J car. I mean, I didn't even know really what that meant. And then I found it was this guy named Jay, and then Jay McDonald. Now, the interesting part of that story is there was a time, or what, around 2010, he sold to Mitch Johnson. Is that what,
Yep. Yep.
did that kind of happen? So he kind of retired. I don't know what, and maybe you could fill in if you know, or maybe someone in the comments. But I just remember, and I remember thinking, well, Mitch Johnson was a great racer. I never heard of him as a like a great chassis guy. And then you didn't hear about J Car for a while, and then Mitch kind of faded off into the sunset. And then all of a sudden, what, 2 3 years ago, Todd Carl's in a J car, and then all of a sudden Sabraski's jumping in a J car. I don't know if you know kind of the history of that. If you could bring us all up to speed to kind of how we got here from about 2010.
Yeah, yeah. Clayton Wagaman, Jeremy Nelson, which would be, I believe, his son-in-law. I think that's his sister's kid. But yeah, the fact is, I mean, yeah, very good race car driver. I mean, won a ton of races back in the day, and then he was building cars, hell of a fabricator. I mean, he built several different types of chassis out there. But the modifieds, I mean, when you think back to the heyday through the '90s and the 2000s, that prominent era of modified racing, you look at all the different drivers in the different regions in our area, right? You had Kelly Esty, Daryl Nelson, up north, Steve Arpin. You get down the Wilmer area, Craig Christensen. You go into Wisconsin, Craig Thatcher. You go to South Dakota, you got Kent Arment, right? And I mean, the list goes on and on. And there's a ton, but it seemed like for a while, if you wanted to even remotely be competitive in a modified, you get a J car. That just is what it is. So the guy, I mean, I'd love to have a full conversation, maybe get him on a show and interview him and talk about his career. Because I mean, it's prominent. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff, very successful. But now his daughter's married to Clayton Wagaman.
Yep.
And I don't think his son-in-law, I don't think Jeremy Nelson, the 4 modified, I don't think he raced this year. But he was very fast.
Yep.
You got people calling me, but they can wait. They must have called me a couple times because I got it on Do Not Disturb. But yeah, so he helped them. I think Hot Carl kind of talked him into building him a car. Sabraski does have one. And Sabraski, I believe he ran Hot Carl's car. He's like, holy shit, this thing was pretty good. Why do I need to go all the way across the country to get a freaking race car? I get one right down the road here. This guy,
Okay.
I mean, not many people build a car as good as him. I don't need all this NASCAR technology. Jay McDonald, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at JT Johnson, has been very fast. The '89 car from down Princeton, Ogilvie. So he's still got it. He's still got a ton of knowledge. Very, very, but he's done it a long time. And I believe, I don't want to speak for him. This is secondhand. I believe this to be true, but the best part about a business, right, like that is the people, and the worst part about a business like that is the people, right? And I think when he initially kind of quit doing what he was doing there and sold to Mitch, I think he just kind of burnt out on
Okay.
the people part of it. I think he always loved the fabricating, the building, that side of it. I think he just kind of got burnt out. Like, man, my phone never stops ringing. I mean, it's just one thing after another. I think he just like, that's too much. I gotta go a different direction here. And that's why even when he came back, it was pretty limited on how many cars he wanted to build because he didn't want his phone ringing off the hook all day long, every single day. He's like, I'm kind of over that. I like to be in the garage. I like to be building stuff, fabricating, setting stuff up. But that other part, I think, was the main reason that he got out. But man, one hell of a career. And there's been I mean, different classes. Superstock's got affordable chassis, TRC race cars. I remember the most prominent, of course, turbine chassis, which has sold, of course, and that's down in Hancock, Minnesota now. But in the modified realm, man, J Car was it for a long, long time. And yeah, he's done some really cool stuff in his career. We'll get him on the line here one day. I'll get a hold of Jay. We'll see if we can't, some off season stuff. Not that there's a full off season, but once we kind of get into the thinner part of the year, I'd love to maybe try to talk him into getting on and maybe doing a quick little interview, see what else we can get out of Jay McDonald.
Oh yeah, they need to do a big party for him. They need to mention it at the banquet.
Yes.
If there's a Wazota Hall of Fame, of course he needs to be in it. But yeah, like you said, the J car was especially in the '90s. I mean, was there another car in the '90s? Really? I mean, like you said, there were, but I mean, everyone talked about the J car.
For sure. Yeah. If you were winning races in a mod, pretty good odds. That was the chassis that you were driving. So before we jump into the next segment, I want to give a shout out here. Brad Parsons Soil and Egg Solution, repping the product there, repping the swag you got from Brad.
Oh, looking good.
Yeah, but
he's got him, folks. He's got him.
He does. So Brad he's getting back into a late model this coming year. So racers, why not do business with racers, right? So if you're in farming, what do you want to do? You want to make more money. How do you do that? Better yields. How do you get better yields? Get the right stuff in those spray packages. And why not give Brad a call to learn about all the products he has to see if it's something that you can test on your land for 2026 to try to make more money and more profit than what you're already making. Maybe you had a hell of a year this year, but hey, just like racing, you might have won three in a row, but why don't we make it 10 in a row, right? Why not try to make what's good better? And that's what maybe he can do for you. So give Brad Parson a call, 320-219-3542 to learn about all the great products he has. Brad Parsons Soil and Egg Solution.
All right. So, of course, on the more local level, we had the big topless nationals down in Ogilvie, our last race of the season. And
kinda, yeah, not so much, not so fast. We'll get to that in just a few moments.
Yeah, so I only saw the late models. Congratulations, Joel Bennett. I mean, some redemption from a couple of weeks ago, but I'm sure you watched it also. Why don't you give us a rundown, kind of class by class, on what you saw?
Well, Bert should be on here just for this moment, right?
Yeah.
Two drivers on the podium from Eastern Wisconsin in the late models. Joel Bennett looked really good, and he's been fast. He got fifth at the Fall Classic. Probably should have won that race, and then got out of line, had that altercation, spun out the leader, got a spat back. Right, he salvaged the fifth. Probably should have won, and then probably should have got put to the back and ended up fifth. But he's been quick. He's been getting faster. And he rattled off a nice win here at the topless. Travels with Gunnar Frank. Gunnar Frank's also been very good as of late. Gunnar Frank ran, he led a chunk of the Red Clay Classic. Then he ran second most of the race and just slipped up in the rubber there and kind of had all hell break loose. But he had the speed. He was quick. And he got fourth at the Gopher State 50, too, or the Gopher State Showdown over at Fergus. So both of those drivers, maybe somebody to keep an eye on for 2026. Sounds like they're both coming to Hibbing, by the way. They're both.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're both making the trip up there. But another guy that had a good postseason and just a couple little mishaps from it being a great postseason. Josh Zimpel +9 to second. I mean, he's had some speed. So he's been really good. And then Sabraski +13 up inside the top five. Dexton Cook rounding out fifth. But, the track was pretty good. You could move around on the racetrack. There was multiple lanes, so it was, I mean, as you can see, when you have somebody going +9, +13, that says something about the racetrack. So there's a hat tip right there to Ogilvie on providing a pretty darn good racing surface. Modifieds, it looked like Blake Adams was going to get it done, right? He was in position, car was good. I'm like, late yellow. And he's like, yellows are going to be the freaking death of me, right? It looked like he had it under control, and Sabraski threw just an epic move there. It looked like he passed 7 cars. I don't even know what position he was in on that last restart, but I feel like he passed multiple cars and just put a hell of a move on Blake Adams to get it done. Sabraski doing what Sabraski does, right? That's kind of how that works. But Blake Adams second, Clayton Wagaman came from deep. I don't know if you knew this, but he missed a good chunk of the season. Clayton had a concussion at the big deal in Ogilvie, and there's a place down in Edina that some of the hockey NHL players go to for concussions, and they got him in there. So he
Okay.
ended up going to treatment. So glad to see him get back and glad to
Yeah.
see him fast again. And then the aforementioned JT Johnson rounding out the top four. Three of those top four drivers, Puka, Jay McDonald cars.
Well, there you go. There
All
it
right,
is.
so there it is.
Right
And
to the
then
Hall of Fame.
Cody Schultz made the trip down from Estevan, Saskatchewan. It's a
Ooh.
long drive and rounded out the top five. So good to see that long trip pay off for him. In the super stocks, it was the same. It was the Shane Zabrowski show. Dexton was kind of there, but never really mounted a big challenge. Dexton Cook second, Joey Jensen third, Tim Johnson fourth, and then Jordan Hinkemeyer rounding out the top five. In the Midwest mods, the guy come down from Fort Francis, right? Just 100 miles straight north of you there to Puka, right across the border from International Falls. I raced against Gavin Paul for a number of years in the mod. His son Garrett Paul came down with the Midwest mod, and David Swearingen did everything he could to get by him. I mean, except for dirty him. He races clean, had many opportunities to just give him a little right side romance, never did. If he was a super stock guy, he would have. Midwest mod guy's kind of soft, all right? Just is what it is. But he held him off. Hell of a good race by Garrett Paul getting it done. Swearingen second. One of the races of the night, though, Cole Boston plus 15, 18th to third. So that's a stellar run right there for Cole Boston. Blake Adams fourth. Blake was in contention to win that deal, and I think him and Swearingen, I think Swearingen maybe got in his left rear. Something happened on the start. I didn't really catch it, and he blazed the tires, and he lost a whole bunch of spots and still salvaged a fourth. And then Michael Shalley, I got to hang out with them guys up in Thunder Bay. Nice run for him. He ended up with a top five finish, first trip down to Ogilvie, so it's a hell of a run for that Thunder Bay, Ontario driver. So in the street stocks, probably the hottest guy right now in the street stock class. Didn't start racing until the end of the season, and boy, oh boy, if he races for a natty next year, everybody could be in big trouble. Sounds like he might not do that, might focus on the tour. Parker Anderson, 8th to 1st. He was on a rail. IMCA car, Caden Woody, because they let the IMCA stock cars run with them. So Caden Woody got second. Jimmy Gullickson third. Colton Brower, he started 17th and got fourth. So that's a hell of a run right there.
Did Parker park the mod?
Yeah, he didn't race the mod this year. Nope.
Oh, he didn't. Okay.
Yeah, he parked that. Yep. So yeah, good run there for those guys. Parker Anderson has been just stacking wins at the end of the year. I mean, multiple invitational wins. Really fun to watch that kid. Mod fours, Robert Holquist getting it done in the mod fours, and Mike Rowell and Dean Larson rounding out your top three in that class. The Hornet race was good. Unfortunately, our boy just about got it done there, Polka. Just about. And but Matthew Dittman come from deep. He +8, started 9th, got by Brady Fossil late to win that one. Dittman, he's won a ton of races in the Hornet class. Good race car driver, Central Minnesota guy, races Fergus, Alex, kind of where he runs. But he got by him late. Fossil kind of left the door open just a little bit and made him pay. But good run for Fossil. He had a hell of a season this year.
Oh, yeah.
Got second. Jeff Roller +10 to 30. So that was your second and third place drivers. Roller got second in national points, and Fossil got third, and Cast got fourth in the 03. So the Hornets, I'm telling you what, I know the traditional race fans, they got late models, modifieds. I'm telling you what, Puka, right? Them Hornets put on a freaking day. They put on bangers every single week. I mean, I watch a lot of racing, and I can't even tell you how many nights I've watched racing at various tracks, and the best feature every night, Hornets. Another one that's always in the mix, right? Street stocks are always good.
Street stocks are, yeah. I do
Stocks,
have to admit, the street stocks, they do. I really like the street stocks at the sites where they're in Grand Forks. There, they get thumping, and on that type track, they're great.
Yeah.
I have to admit, they do put on a good show.
100%. And then maybe the class of the future here. Maybe something you're going to see at a lot of tracks. They got the Crown Vics, which is basically it's a new version of Pure Stocks. He said they have them all over the country, but more affordable. I talked to a guy, talked to Wayne Nelson. He said 3 to 5 thousand is typically what a guy has into one of those. And I know this: the people winning Pure Stock championships, right? I've heard people having over 10,000 in those. So if you can have half the money into a Crown Vic, that just makes sense. That's just math, right? So, but Mike
Yeah, but
Lane getting
Wazona
it
will
done.
get a hold of them, and then it'll be 15
Oh
grand.
God, I hope not. I hope not. So Mike Lane getting it done. He ran 3 years of IMCA stock cars and just kind of a guy out there in that class. He kind of ran okay, but didn't really wasn't stacking wins. But that IMCA stock car is expensive. I mean, you get a brand new IMCA stock car, it's 40 grand. Right? There's a lot of money into one of those. I mean, they're like a super stock, except for probably even more expensive than that. But he went +8, and I think the budget fits him here. I think it's a good class, and I know James Trantina is the one who finally said, "Hey, screw it, I'm bringing this class to the area," and he
Yeah.
did. So he's the first one to have it at Granite, and now they're gonna. It looks like possibly other tracks picking them up. Maybe Ogilvie, Hibbing's gonna have them next year. Sounds like Princeton. I know Fiesta City Speedway in Montevideo has them. So this is a class that could be starting to kind of grow, and we need it, right? A lot of people are like, I don't want to go to the track to watch another grassroots class. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of people that love racing, lots, right? You want more people at the track, you got to have classes that people can afford to race, period. The average working person cannot afford to buy a modified. They can't afford to buy a late model. They just can't do it. They can afford to get a Crown Vic, though. So, super
So these are like the
interesting.
old police cars? Are they literally
Yeah,
the old
yep,
Crown, the old rear
yep,
wheel drive, the old? Yeah, okay.
yep,
A lot of
that's
those.
correct.
Should be a lot of them and a lot of parts.
Yeah, I would have to think so. I would have to think. But that was supposed to be, well, one other thing that happened,
Oh yeah.
track, so a track photographer, the name's on Facebook. I don't remember the kid's name. And I don't need to spread his name around all. I mean, look it up. It's on Facebook. I guarantee it. But guy that does videoing, right, for Dirt Race Central and does some stuff with drones and all that, ended up getting hit by a car. I believe it was a street stock during the heat races on Friday night. And I didn't see the video. I'm like, I don't want to see a guy get hit. I didn't go searching for it. I don't need to see that. Um, Fortunate though. Sounds like he was okay. Kind of escaped major injury, thank God. Right. But remember, it's the second year in a row. Ogilvie, they had Nate's kid there get hit by a bus, right? So I mean that's just bad luck. They're not doing anything wrong or different at Ogilvie than anybody else is doing. That's just bad luck. I mean, and then of course the tragic deal that happened at Fergus, that was on the racetrack, that wasn't in the infield, but so you can't control that. That's a tough deal. Somebody went across the track. That's a tough deal. But let me ask you this. So multiple people getting hit in the infield, and it happens. And it's not just Ogilvie that has it happen. It happens throughout the country. Not a lot, but it does happen. Are we going to come to a day, Puka, where the insurance companies are like, look, you want people in the infield? There needs to be a guardrail around and maybe not right on the track. We don't need the guardrail right on the racing surface. Maybe inset in,
Yeah.
right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, but if there's going to be people and safety equipments and or safety personnel and officials and maybe crews down there for hot pits. I mean, you look at a lot of these tracks that have people down in the pits, there are guardrails all the way around the inside, right? And these tracks that are like, well, we only got, dozen people down there. It ain't a big deal. Well, it ain't a big deal till it is a big deal.
Right.
So could we see it mandated possibly at some point to where if you want people down there, there's going to be guardrails or there ain't nobody down there? Could that be a thing?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just a matter of time, and even vehicles need to be in there. I mean, what are throttle sticks? I don't know. Some you got a smaller push truck or like a misting truck like Cedar Lake has, and what if a car were to hit it full blast into the gas tank? You know what I mean? It just I'd even feel better as especially a place like Cedar Lake where you're pretty close to the track. You know,
Right.
um, But yeah, I mean that they wouldn't hurt anything. You put the guard, maybe even some fencing, far inside the track surface, but you get everybody in there. And I think that maybe that would, I mean, hey, look at Hibbing. When was that? In the mid 80s. They said, like, we need to get the pits out of the middle for safety, and
Yeah.
we talked about on the show, you've talked about it as a racer, racers sometimes just they don't think about the safety, they don't care about the safety, they don't think it's important. It's not important until it is important. It's the same thing with the tracks, the insurance, the rules. I'm all for whatever to make it safe because we don't need another track going down because of an incident. One incident, and all of a sudden it's like we lose a racetrack. Especially at a place like Ogilvy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have some big shows and they got big crowds, big car counts. I mean, and all it takes is one time, and it doesn't matter how much money a guy has. They're going to be like, "Look, we're done." I mean,
Yeah.
because if you get one big hit like that, there's only a couple insurance companies out there. You might have a hell of a time getting them to insure you as well. So
Right.
that's another very, very scary part with this deal. But I mean, between wall openings and kind of just wide open, kind of like open grazing in the pit area in the infield, maybe we need to start looking a little closer at this safety stuff. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but all it takes is one time. I'd rather have people say, "Man, I'm glad we did this, spent the money and did it," rather than coming back later and saying, "Man, I wish we would have did something." Because by
Well,
that point, it's just too late. So
yeah.
thankfully, that driver or that photographer down there was okay. Very fortunate, so glad to see that. Um, but again, that was supposed to be the last race of the week or the last race of the year in the area. But this coming weekend, Puka, Barry Braun announced promoter Hibbing Speedway first annual Iron Range Rumble. Your thoughts?
Well, I saw some, social media stuff this, Friday, Saturday, whatever. I can't remember exactly when it got announced, and I thought, weather's looking nice. And sure enough, the weather was looking nice. I wouldn't say now it is. Um, we're post MEA weekend up here. Uh, I don't know. Temps are not looking all that good. Now it's been raining since yesterday, last evening. So we've gotten a lot of rain. It's not going to dry because it's cold. It's supposed to be about 39. I don't know, pushing it too much, Ryan. I mean, even my gears are kind of changing. It's a different season. I do different things. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, it sounds like, and I don't know how much sponsor money he has, but he has a title sponsor for the event. So obviously somebody said, "Hey, looks like a good idea. We'll help back it." I don't know how much. I don't know what the finances of that look like. None of my business. But I guess what does it hurt, right? I mean, at the end of the day, he runs it as a business, and you're going to try to make money. And if he feels like he has most of the purse covered and you can put on a good show, I'm looking at it personally as a fan. I'm like, if you can have two solid heats of everything, right? If you can have that 12 to 18 in every class, it'd be a good show. And quite honestly, I don't, I mean, no offense, I don't want to see 200 cars next week,
Yeah,
this
right.
weekend.
No,
Not, and if you're sitting out
me
there in the
neither.
cold, you don't want to see 200 cars.
Right.
You just don't. I mean, who knows? Magic could happen. They had 297 or something at Ogilvy last week, right? So who knows? But the fact is, if they can get 100 cars or so and have an entertaining program, he put a post out there, like a roll call post, who's coming. There's a lot of out of town drivers that are making the
There
trip. It's
are. Okay. Well,
crazy. Yeah.
no,
And,
are they
and
doing the daytime deal again, or is it in the?
they're
Because
running
someone told me
seven
it was.
o'clock on Friday because you can't run during the day on Friday. People got to work, and then earlier, much earlier. I don't exactly know the time. Much earlier though on Saturday.
Okay.
So they are going to try to get it in quick, and they're aware that they want to move the show along. They want to make it a 3 hour program is kind of the goal, but I what does it hurt? I mean, if he has the backing and he has the facility there to maybe put on another one more last hurrah and entertaining program for the people in the area, there's still people that got the itch. I'm here to tell you that back in the day when I was like all in, I got to be at the track. I guarantee I would have been there. There's not a question about it. I would have been
Oh,
freezing my
I know
nuts
you would
off
have. You would have.
for
You'd be the
sure.
first one checked in. I know that. But what about
Well,
the fans? That's my concern. Like I said, well, I had a buddy. Well, it's actually one of Brady Fossil's pitmen, Benny Galley. Shout out to Benny. He's a big fan of the show, and he's on a little text chain. Joe Bravo's kid, and you go into the Rumble, and I'm like, no, I'm actually going to Bemidji State hockey. For me, the cold is one factor, but like I said, it's just a change of. Of course, there's a lot. I'm not a hunter, but there's a lot of guys. They had that youth hunt last weekend for deer. I don't know if that goes again this weekend. You can bow hunt for deer. Of course, there's all kinds of grouse, ducks, geese. You just kind of get that. So just are you gonna get that's what I'm worried about. 7 at night. I mean, I think I looked earlier today. I think the high on Friday up here is like 48. So you're gonna get that high about
a
4 o'clock.
warm 48 though, Puka. That's a warm 48. It's going to be a warm 48.
With no
Sun's
wind.
going to be shining.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, the sun's going to stay out in Hibbing till about 9:30 on
Yeah,
Friday
there we
night.
go.
I know
Well,
it's,
man, we're good. Yeah, so I mean, hey, he's got big balls. Good for him. And like I said, I'm glad to hear I mean, I hope it's a success, but woof. I mean, it just almost and of course the hot dish. It sounds like it was a really big 2 weeks ago.
yeah.
Or 10 days ago, whatever that week before last was a big success. Of course, the weather helped a lot there. 2 o'clock start time. I think it was about perfect. Again, I thought about going. I think you were up in town.
Yep. Yep.
But I had already shifted gears. I had a friend's kid playing hockey against the Bulldogs, so I was down at Amsoil in Duluth. Just like I said, I've kind of moved on mentally.
You know what I will say is this though, is it's refreshing having somebody say, because the trajectory of how things were ran in the past in the Iron Range, right, is, well, we tried that before, it didn't work.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I heard that song in that. Well, we tried to run before opening of fishing. It never worked. We tried to do this. It never worked. Well, you know what? Just because you tried it didn't work 35, 40 years ago, don't mean it ain't going to work now. It may or it may not. But I like the enthusiasm of going, why not race? And you know what? There's a lot of people that posted. Johnny Broking, for example, he posted, hey, my car's all apart. But you know what? Good luck to the racers, and we're gonna try to get the kid and try to bring Colt over there, and we're gonna come support it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's some drivers that said, hey, my stuff's already apart, but shit, I'm gonna go watch, right? So there's some of that, and then there's racers. I'm telling you, Puka, I mean, we talked about Gunnar Frank, we talked about Joel Bennett, DJ Keeler. I saw David Simpson, Cole Chernosky both post on there. So you start looking at this, it's like, all right, okay, maybe there's going to be more cars than I thought. Williamson, the modified from Thunder Bay, he's coming down. So it's like, all right, okay, maybe. At first I was thinking, oh shit, they ain't going to get 10 of anything. I think they're gonna. If I was a betting man, they're going to have I'm not going to say it's going to be a 24 car field of anything, right? Maybe B mods, maybe. But I think you're going to have enough cars to have an entertaining show. And if I had to make a prediction, because we're not doing the bold predictions on this show, there's going to be more cars this weekend than what they see on their like regular weekly shows during the season. So I think it's still going to be a pretty good deal. So good luck to them over at the Hibbing Speedway for the Iron Range Rumble. So, Puka, I got a little fan feedback. I got a question for you. Derek, a friend of the show, watches, sometimes shoots me over some messages and kind of some random thoughts. He had a hell of a rant the other day. I had a marathon to read on Facebook. I'm like, holy shit, I'm driving. I can't see with all my glasses, but I can't see the road when I have them on. I don't got bifocals. I should probably, right? But he said, I am done going to local racing. I'm sick of it. I'm done. I'm not going to weekly racing anymore. He goes, I used to go to Deer Creek. I used to go to Mississippi Thunder. And I got to be honest, I'm just not interested. I'm like, well, why? He goes, the people that I go watch, he goes, he's big Chisholm fans, right? He likes Joe Chisholm. He likes Jim Chisholm, right? And there's several drivers. You look at Jake Tim, Dustin Sorensen. He goes, these drivers that I used to go to the tracks to watch on a weekly basis, They don't race there anymore unless it's a special. They're either following a national touring series or USMTS or racing a special somewhere. But when it's regular weekly racing, the guys I want to watch just don't go. He goes, so why would I go spend all that money to go watch drivers I don't really want to watch? And I'm like, well, I got to thinking about it, and whether it's somebody leaving to go run a national touring series like Sorensen or Tam, right, or USMTS, or somebody, maybe there's like regional series is going on, right, or maybe there's drivers out there that said, we don't even unload for regular pay now, we're just going to run specials. Financially, it just makes more sense. Or you take a guy like Harry Hansen, right? That, hey, he wasn't allowed to race Hibbing this year. Harry's got a big fan base,
Huge fan base. Huge.
And how many of those people from the east side of the ranch said, fuck, we ain't going, Harry ain't there. If Harry ain't gonna go, we're not going, right? And then you think about racers that have retired over the years. Some had, Kelly, you look at the Kelly Lakers, there's only a couple left that race. The Kelly Lakers had a huge following.
Oh, a whole section of the stands. Yeah.
They did. And they don't follow quite as much anymore because there's just significantly less racers from over there. So they're like, there's only a couple that even race. It's not a big deal. That's a thing. That's the thing. Is he wrong for thinking this way? Whose fault is this, Pook? Is this a driver's fault, promoter's fault, anybody's fault, natural? I mean, what's your thoughts here?
Well, weekly racing is dead, in my opinion. And that's kind of a different conversation. We can talk about that at some point, this show or another show. Especially with streaming, I think weekly racing is dead. But I think in our area, it's a promoter issue because many of it, we need a lot of comments on this, like former promoters, former board members, because I think what we're trying to do is I think what you're trying to do is get to the bottom of this so it's better for everybody. So comments are wanted here, but there was a time, if I'm correct, and again, comment if I'm not, when I think specials in Wazota had to be during the week. They wanted strong, regular night racing. If you had a special, it was during the week. And I remember when Terry Volz, God rest his soul, did the Rumble, that's when you first started seeing, at least on the late model side, where they were coming in on the weekends. A weekend in Hibbing, a weekend in Aberdeen, a weekend in Mandan. They had that Rumble series all kind of laid out. And then somewhere along the way, it spread to some other classes, I believe. So in our area, I think it's a promoter's problem because you can't blame the racer for chasing the money. Although, there's it's kind of a double-edged sword for the racer too, because your sponsors are typically local, and you don't want to cut off the hand that feeds you, i.e., you want the track that's 10 miles away from your shop to succeed. So what are your thoughts?
It's a very interesting debate, right? Because on one hand, as a racer, you're like, well, I want higher paying shows, so I'm all about having more and more specials because I want to be racing for more money. I don't want to race for 400 to win in a modified. I want to race for 1,000, 1,500, $2,000 to win. So if that has to be on every single weekend, I'd rather have that as a racer. That's what they're thinking, right? But man, it's really, really, I think it's hurt the sport because it's taken away that fan driver interaction, building that fan base. The challenge series used to always be Tuesday, Wednesday, until the end of the year, and then maybe a couple of the specials, Labor Day and so on. They were challenge series. But traditionally, the lion's share of them were Tuesday, Wednesday. I remember the Como Mod series. Joe Staria had that series for a number of years. Great series. I miss it. I wish it was back, right? But during the season, so every track that was part of that series got two races. One during the season, weekday show. One at the end of the year that fell on their traditional special, Silver 1000, Labor Day Shootout, Northern Nationals, Red Clay Classic, right? So during the summer, though, they weren't stepping on everybody's toes because what happens is you get these promoters and they're pissed off. They're like, well, we can't get our drivers to support us. They're at this special and that special, and these tracks want us to take a night off for our class. But then guess what? Then their schedule comes out, and now they got specials on there. We got this special, that special, and that special, and now they're pulling from other tracks. So they're doing it to each other, and man, it is super hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube But as far as if you want a racetrack to succeed, you have to get a following of a home base, Puka, because it's 2025. It's 2025, meaning this: people typically are not going to drive very far to go watch a weekly race or even a special, right? They're just not gonna. They're gonna jump onto whatever streaming platform that it may be in. Wissota, it's mostly Dirt Race Central, right? You have XR as well, and then national you got Flow and Dirt Vision and so on and so forth, right? They're not going to travel very far. They're going to be like, I'm not driving an hour and a half, 2 hours to go down to Superior, get done racing at, 10, 11 o'clock at night, drive home, get home at 2:30 in the morning. Not interested. I'll jump online when the races are done. I go to bed, right? Now, I will say this. Exactly. I enjoy being at the races far better than watching online. It's a totally different experience. But the fact is, if you just want to watch races, see how your guy or gal does, people are jumping on a streaming. So, in order to combat that, right, the biggest thing you got to do to combat that is you have to build a huge in town following. There was a time you take the Hibbing Raceway, Hibbing Speedway now, still don't like that, Barry. Go back to Hibbing Raceway. That's what we do. All right. It ain't going to happen, but it is what it is. But there was a time where Hibbing could survive and thrive just on drivers that came from like a 40-mile radius of Hibbing. And they had all the cars and fans they needed. And then when they got the Duluth drivers, Bemidji drivers, Fort Francis drivers, Thunder Bay drivers, that added to the program. But they did not need those drivers to have a full field of cars. Now, most of these tracks, you're not getting a full field of cars from in town, right? Well, the problem with that is your local guy and gal that live in town, they're not typically going to go, man, I'm excited to go to the races to watch all these out of town people that I don't even know who they are.
Right. Yeah.
They want to go to the races to watch people they know. That's why I love what they're doing with the Crown Vic deal, right? Because it's another grassroots class. It gets more local people possibly into the class and racing because they can afford it. And now they're like, hey, coworker, brother, sister, whatever. They're like, well, shit, hey, so and so is racing. I'm gonna go watch. The Hornets probably have one of the best followings as far as fan base goes because there's so many local drivers racing it. So that would be my take on that. So
Yeah.
Derek's spot on.
I know and you know the driver, but I know someone that sponsored a driver, and this is 20 years ago now, but not a race fan, sponsored a car, went to a race and in Hibbing, and said car they sponsored was not there, gone
Right.
at a special. That was it for sponsoring.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
where's the drive? I come, um, and it wasn't just that I didn't get to see my driver, but well, I guess I didn't realize I'm the local. I want my sponsorship to be local here, and now I find out said driver. How is said driver gone 5 times a year, 2 times a year? So
Right.
that and that's something that I've always kept in mind, and yeah, and you were talking about the long drives. I mean, I remember I went to Hibbing religiously. I moved to Grand Rapids. It's been 10 years now. I went every single week until 2024. 2024, I made it to Hibbing 3, 4 times. This year, I made it 3 times. Um, and part of it's the late night. Maybe you have too many classes, so the nights they get too long. The drive home gets late. I haven't been to Proctor, I think, since 2014. I used to look forward to going to Proctor here and there. I didn't even make it to Superior this year because the Twin 25s got rescheduled. Where was I going with that? On the Oh, yeah. I used to drive over to him, and I remember on the Brokings they were talking about when they were running that mod, the RV mods. All of a sudden it's like, where are the Brokings at? Oh, that's right there. Um, where's Massengill tonight? Oh, XR's got their show down in Kansas, or Cedar Lake Month of Money. There would be people. Maybe Budaslavich, instead of coming north, would go down to Cedar. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't enough for me to not go, and it's but I'm a hardcore guy,
Right.
where, some of this, like you said, you want to try to build a culture and just get the casual person to say, every 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to head to the races. It's affordable enough, it's convenient enough, and it's fun enough. Yeah, there's, like I said, we need comments. Everyone needs to help. I think everybody in this situation.
And then hey, and nothing against Deer Creek, Mississippi Thunder. Love both tracks. They both got great shows, great facilities, right? Neither one of them have a grassroots class.
Well,
Mississippi
maybe.
Thunder's they got the econo mods down there, which is significantly cheaper than a B mod, right? But they don't. They're like, we don't want no Hornets. We don't want none of that junk at our track. That's the wrong fucking mindset. You're a promoter. You're dumbass if you don't have them classes.
Well,
You
they're
don't
on the
pay them
struggle bus
nothing.
this year. They've been on the
What's
struggle
that?
bus. They came out the videos and told us they've been on
They
the struggle
did.
bus.
Why can't we get any fans? Well, gee, I wonder why, right? Because you got no kids racing at your track because none of them can afford to go freaking buy a B mod or a super stock, or they don't have supers. It's all USRA stock car or whatever. I'm a firm believer, and that's one thing I'm going to tip my cap to James Trantina for bringing that Crown Vic class to Granite City and having the sack to do it. Right? Hey, I'm going to do something different. I don't give a shit what people say. That's kind of how he rolls. Well, no, Barry Braun, who had Crown Vic stuff, he did the big deal for the Crown Vics, and he's been all over the country, so he's seen this as well. And he's like, we're having Crown Vics in Hibbing.
Yeah.
I believe it's probably going to happen in Rapids too. Well, you look at Bemidji, Puka. You've been to Bemidji a number of times. They have a pretty darn good fan count for what it is over there. It's not the mecca of racing, right? It's not Cedar Lake, but they got a really good
Yeah.
grassroots core, and that's all the young kids, young guys, gals. They're all in the grassroots classes. You look at all the kids under 18, guys and gals in Hibbing, just in the Hornets, and every one of them brings a ton of fans. So if
Well, okay.
that's a huge deal.
Well, you talk about, we brought up Brady Fossil. I mean, go back Labor Day, even it might have even been the hot dish. Look at his victory lane picture. There's 6 people, young people too. Some of them, excited. The energy. They want to be in victory lane. Brady won. And then I don't know. I don't want to pick on like Bob Broking, but I know Bob night won one of the nights of the hot dish. Was he the only one in victory lane? There's a like you said, there's a different energy level with the that younger group. And
Right.
yeah, maybe you're probably onto something.
Yeah, so I think that's a solution right there. Would love, like you said, love to hear in the comments. I'd love some feedback on this discussion. Before we jump into the next topic, I want to give a shout out to our buddy Mac at East Central Sports. So Puka, East Central Sports is your number one source for pit bikes, kids ATVs, golf carts, Toro lawnmowers, and a whole lot more. So they're located just north of the cities there in Rush City, just off of I-35. And if you buy something from them, whether they got some pimping shit over there, they got cool golf carts, they got some really cool stuff. Just mention you heard about them on the One to Go show, $100 off whatever you buy. And you can get a hold of Mac at 320-358-1994 or check them out online at www.eastcentralsports.com.
Or they and go to their Facebook because they do a great job. They're putting out pictures all the time. We got this and we got this pit bike. So like I said, if you're looking or just kind of thinking about looking, follow them because something might catch your eye. They do a really good job. They've got new posts every day virtually, and they do a great job of letting you know kind of what's in stock.
Awesome. Good idea. Absolutely. So, silly season has begun, Puka. Silly season. We talked a little bit about Sweet vacating his ride, going to maybe do some part time stuff, the possibility of maybe Dason Pursley jumping into that one, but there's a little bit more. We get jump into the late models, officially official now. Dalton Wilson out, Ratliff Racing, Rice baby in. Puka, word on the street is a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation. They're going to follow Lucas next year. I haven't heard anything concrete yet. They said schedule an official announcement on scheduling plans for 2026 coming soon. But the sources that I've talked to said that's more than likely going to be Lucas. That'd be a great addition. He's a hell of a wheel.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Wilson's kind of had his ride. I mean, it's if Wilson was and I don't know, he was a 10th place guy this year. I mean, if he had a good year next year, he might be eighth. I mean, realistically, and if he had a bad year, he might be 12th. I mean, I think he's one of those guys that's, he's, what's he run the series? Maybe 3, 4 years. He's kind of not. Hey, it's hard. I'm not saying that, but I just, I don't think he's one of those guys that you're going to see maybe do a lot of leapfrogging, and there was a ton of potential there, but Josh Rice is, I think he brings a little different that experience. He's obviously won at Eldora in June, and so I think maybe I should put it this way: Rice will probably rattle more cages next year, not in a bad way, but has the potential to rattle more cages than Dalton Wilson.
Maybe in a bad way too. He's freaking aggressive. He's on the chip.
Yeah.
The best advice I can give to Josh Rice, right, is whoever's in charge of your apparel, you get a hold of Turbo's crew, right? What is that, Race Ranch? And you get a hold of Abby and Bobby's mom over there to figure out what the hell they're doing, because Josh Rice is gonna sell a shitload of t-shirts. He will probably fall out of about a third of the races because he ripped the spoiler off and banged the wall, but he brings it. Sometimes to a fault, right? He is absolutely a high side hustler, rip the lip, super aggressive. So he'll be, as far as entertainment value goes, it's a great addition. I mean, he's going to be super fun to watch. So would I count on him winning a championship next year? No chance. I don't think he's. I think he's gonna have too many DNFs, but he's gonna win some races. I can promise you that. He's talented. He's a hell of a wheel. The Lucas Oil Rookie of the Year. Yes. Yeah, was it Donald McIntosh stepping away from his ride? No official announcement yet on who's taken over that ride, or if anyone is, or where he's going. Sounds like he ran. Was it him or Wilson that ran? I think Wilson maybe ran with Big Frog a little bit, right? I think Wilson.
Yeah, it was Wilson that ran with Big Frog. Yeah. That's what we kind of saw that one coming. Yeah, he jumped in Big Frog a couple times.
Yeah, so he might be there. So interesting to see what McIntosh is going to do. We talked about personally Spencer Baston, official, going to be taking over the Sheldon Hodenschild ride at Stenhouse Racing. Baston has kind of had that up and down, but he's been pretty sporty the second half of this year. So he's been kind of good. We'll see how he does. And then, then there's just a lot of question marks, right? Where's Donnie Schatz going to go? Right. Where's Scelzi going to go? Have you heard any official word on Giovanni Scelzi? I have not. There's some rumors, and again, this is just rumors, so don't shoot me if it's false, right? But I had multiple people text me this. They're like, I heard there's a possibility Dan Ebert might get off Lucas and focus maybe on like a Hell Tour or a Mars. Don't know if that's true. So if somebody knows something more than I do, post in the comments. I think that'd be a good move if he did. Not that he's not talented enough, but you look at Turbo, right? I mean, Turbo's got many years of experience in the late model, and he kind of shines on the Hell Tour. He's good there. Not that he can't. He has some moments with Lucas, but I think it would be good maybe to get a year or two in regionally like that, and then kind of work your way back up now that he has a year of experience.
Yeah, Winger's done that. Winger's was national and he kind of hung around. I'm actually surprised more drivers don't do that, because it's, well, I mean, the Hell Tour's changed a little bit. They got different weeks, but back, what, 3 and 5 and 7, you knew you were going to have whatever 3 weeks of racing in a row. That's why it was called the Hell Tour, whatever. And I'm surprised more guys just didn't try that for a year or two. Maybe you meet a Rick Eckert, right, in your 3 weeks, and you learn maybe a little bit, especially a guy that comes from Wazzotti, you learn a little bit about the tires, like, what do I do with these open tire? How do I, and then after a couple of years of that, then maybe you make the whole, it seems like there's a lot of guys that jump in. Of course, there's some guaranteed money and stuff and some of that national touring stuff, but a lot more travel, a lot more spread out. Like I said, you commit to the Hell Tour. If it's 4 weeks long, heck, if it's going bad after 2 weeks, you fall off, but you've kind of, you've gone from point A to point B. You've raced your whole way around instead of going back home for 3 weeks, then going 6 states away and going back home and then going 6 states. Just so I think it'd be good for it.
And it's a confidence builder too, right? I mean, you look at the Lucas scene, right? Brandon Overton's a good race car driver. You wouldn't think so with his results this year. I mean, he struggled. Well, if Brandon Overton's struggling and Brandon Shepard's struggling, right, and T-Mac more often than not kind of struggling, pretty tough for a rookie to jump in and be like, shit, I'm going to be lights out.
Yeah.
How are you now? I mean, these are some of the best that ever do it, and they're struggling. There's a hell of a learning curve here for sure. So, yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. That's the rumor I heard, but I think it would be a good move, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. Another rumor in northern Minnesota. North Central Speedway. It sounds like a purchase agreement is signed.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds like there's a group that it sounds like it could be very, very soon an official announcement on potential new owners at the North Central Speedway in Brainerd, Minnesota. So Cliff over the last few years has had some health challenges, did a lot for racing, so he deserves to retire. I don't know that he really wants to get away from it. But the fact is, at some point, he's going to have to get away from it. So, but yeah, it sounds like that agreement has been signed, and there's a fairly solid rumor that they could be leaning back towards Wissota versus going back to IMCA. So keep an eye on what's going on up there in Brainerd.
Well, Cliff's put in a solid 25 years.
Oh God, more
2000, right? Even more than that. Okay.
Yeah, more than that for sure. He's been there for a long time. I couldn't tell you exactly how many years. Somebody watching those, post it in the comments if you know.
Yeah, and I'd have to say, I live an hour from Brainerd, and I live an hour from Bemidji, and I hear about Bemidji racing. I'm 45 minutes or maybe Brainerd. I mean, I know they're not Wissota, but there's still some guys that overlap a little. Like I really don't. I mean, of course, they used to have the World of Outlaw late models every year. I just don't. They had Wissota Challenge Series races, and of course, they hosted a 100, right? And or a couple of them in 08, 09, right around that time.
07, 08.
07, 08. Yep. And, you just brought them up now. I don't think I heard one thing, saw one thing, heard anything really about Brainerd the whole summer. And maybe not even last summer.
And there's some hell of good race car drivers that have come out of that era, for sure. Right? I mean, you look at Dave Moss won the challenge series, Timmy Johnson, multiple-time champion, Dan Ebert. That's where he cut his teeth, right? So, I mean, they have a rich heritage of racing at the North Central Speedway in Brainerd. But here's the deal. You got to remember, too, Cliff's old school, right? And they've kind of hired some different promoters to come in. They do some social media, but maybe they just need some new blood or whatever. I guess I'm not really sure, but we'll see what happens. Plus, they run on Saturdays, and that's when Hibbing runs. So we kind of never really. Everybody runs on Saturdays, it seems like. So our Pick'em's standings kind of leading the way here. Changa gained some ground on me this week, though. Changa won the week. He gained 7 points on me this last week. Not real comfortable with that, right? So I'm at 7-10. Changa.
And he beat you at golf, I'm assuming.
No.
No.
That did not happen.
He didn't get the Grand Slam.
Neither one of us golfed well, but he was significantly worse than I. Okay. And usually he's better, but not this time. Yeah. So yeah, I'm 23 up on Changa. Then he's 9 points up on Bert. Bert's in third. Then we got Josh Waltz, Governor Walls, we call him. You don't really like that. He's in fourth. Rainman in fifth. Dano in sixth. Uper in seventh. Coach, your early leader, slipped all the way back to eighth. Worker Bee ninth. Man Bun Dan in 10th. And then you got Beefcake and Bromance in here. I don't know why I don't have JR Tardy on here. He's right ahead of Worker Bee. I didn't write him on the list. Sorry, JR. Still love you, man. Still love you. I didn't write him down for some reason, but yeah, he's right around 9th in the points. So to end it out, here's what's going on this weekend. You can tell me which of these races you're looking forward to most. We're not going to do the bold predictions this weekend because Bert's not on, Chonga's not on. I'm not going to read everybody's. We did predictions. We got in a text group, so we'll talk about what we predicted next week. But we did. It's just not going to read them all off. So unless you want to maybe make a prediction off the record. So this week, of course, we got the first annual Iron Range Rumble Friday, Saturday up at the Hibbing Speedway. Also, the 31st annual Fall Classic. Prelims on Friday, features on Saturday. Meridian, Mississippi's Why Not Motorsports Park down there. Rodney Wing runs that. I raced against him down at East Bay. The Carl Moyer Memorial, the Harvest Hustle on the High Banks at Marshalltown. Big car counts last year. IMCA Heats Friday, features Saturday. Last year they were 40, 50 cars in each of the classes: mod, stock car, sports mods, hobbies. So that should be a hell of a show. Some hitters too. There'll be some really good racers on IMCA TV. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars doubleheader this weekend. 81 Speedway, Park City, Kansas on Friday, and then the Jason Johnson Classic at the Arrowhead Speedway in Colcord, Oklahoma. That is on Saturday. Now, what I found interesting as I was doing this, 81 Speedway's got USMTS mods on Saturday, so they got a double header. World of Outlaw one night, USMTS the next night. So it's kind of interesting. USMTS at Lakeside, Kansas City, Kansas Friday, and like I said, 81 Speedway Park City on Saturday. USAC National Sprint Car Series, hell of a field of cars. In fact, RTJ going to be
Yeah,
behind the wheel of one.
that.
Yep, Western
In
World
Arizona.
Championships. Yep, Casa Grande down there. Yeah, my dad is going to be going to that this weekend. He got tickets, so he's going to make the trip over there. But that's their season ender. That's the end of the year for the championship battle for the USAC National Sprint Car Series. And then the rescheduled Mod Mania UMP Dirt Car Modifieds Tri-City Speedway, Granite City, Illinois. That's on Friday and Saturday. Out of those races, low-lying fruit. Neither one of us can pick this. The low-lying fruit is, of course, we're looking forward to Hibbing. It's a home track. We're interested to see what's going to happen. Other than Hibbing, what sticks out to you this weekend that you're maybe going to follow a little bit?
Oh gosh, it's giddy up to Turbo. Turbo's going to take her home at Why Not, and it's not just the win. It's what he's going to say on the mic, because he's got to get it out there. So, well, he could get in a bunch of trouble, while he's at Why Not in Mississippi. But I think if he gets a chance, I think it'll be a colorful interview, either towards some fans that are booing from last week, or maybe he gives a shot to the 111 of Max Blair in Victory Lane. But the interview, the race will be good. The interview will be better. Giddy up, Tyler.
Always is. Always is.
How about you?
I'm looking forward to Marshalltown. So that place races outstanding.
Yes, it does.
So I'm really looking forward to that. They're expecting a really good field of cars. It's on IMCA TV. Definitely worth watching. I won't be able to make the trip down there, but there's going to be very, very good race car drivers in all of the classes. Expecting 40 to 50 in all the classes, so it should be a hell of a field. Got to be honest, Puka. Thank God, right? Thank God for streaming, because they have the four main classes, and then I think they still have a sport compacts, and I think they got hobbies. So they got a pile of classes there, right? And I will watch what I want to watch, which is probably the features online. I'll be happy with that, but should be a good weekend. Stay warm. Support Hibbing if you're up in the area. Try to get over there at least one of the days. Both if you can, because he's taking some
got big
flack.
balls. Yeah, he's got big balls.
He's taking some flack, but the fact of the matter is, entrepreneurs always do, right? I mean, that's one thing. When I got into business, entrepreneur, you said, "Hey, you're going to take some shots. You're gonna take some heaters, right?" And it's just the way it works. Right? People that are doers always have critics. Hell, I'm usually one of the critics, right? But the fact of the matter is, right, without people though that are willing to step up and be like, "Hey, fuck it, we're gonna try it." What's the worst that can happen? We have a bad night, we lose a little money. Well, then we know for next year, right? But the fact is, there's enough people that sound like they still want to race, where it could still be a pretty good show this weekend. So, good luck to everybody that makes it up to Hibbing this weekend for the Iron Range Rumble. So, with that, Puka, sign us off.
Yeah, I'll take us out of here. So anyway, good seeing you, Ryan. It's been great being back. Please subscribe. Please comment. Like I said, we had a lot of sections where we said comment, and please share the show. We'd appreciate that. Find us, The One to Go Show, Facebook, Spotify, TikTok, Snapchat, Rumble, and of course YouTube. And we've got, of course, great partners: Impact Health Sharing, Fastlane Motorsports, Brad Parsons, Soil and Egg Solutions, and East Central Sports. Like I said, get subscribed to their Facebook channel right now. For Ryan Idaho, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the One to Go show.